Alright everyone, before you even consider scrolling past this one, just give me a couple of minutes because right at the beginning of the 2026 MotoGP season, two of the sport's absolute biggest stars are clashing, and not on the racetrack, but over something much more serious and uncomfortable. The big question on everyone's mind is, who's really responsible for Ducati's shocking slump this year? Marc Márquez is pointing the finger at himself, while Francesco Bagnaia is blaming the bike. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the whole situation. Who's actually making more sense here? How has Ducati, a team that looked completely untouchable just last season, suddenly found itself unable to reach even a single podium across the first 3 rounds of 2026? And most importantly, is this a real crisis for the Italian manufacturer, or is it just a temporary rough patch before things turn around? Let's set the scene properly. We're 3 rounds into the 2026 season and Ducati fans are already biting their nails, and not for the usual exciting reasons. The brutal reality is this: both Marc Márquez and Francesco Bagnaia, two of the highest paid and most decorated riders on the entire grid, have not stood on a Sunday podium even once. Not a single time. They have absolutely nothing to show for their efforts so far. To make matters even more painful, the rider who's actually stealing the headlines right now is Fabio Di Giannantonio from the VR46 satellite team. A guy riding what is technically a less advanced package is currently outperforming the official factory duo. At most other teams, you might be able to brush that off somehow, but this is Ducati, the same squad that basically dominated MotoGP last season. Meanwhile, their biggest rival at the moment is Aprilia. Yes, that Aprilia, the team that spent years as the lovable underdog, is now looking genuinely dominant. By all accounts, what happened at COTA has left the Ducati bosses in a real state of panic. One of the most shocking moments of the season so far came during the sprint race at COTA in America. Francesco Bagnaia entered the final lap holding a comfortable 1.7-second lead over Jorge Martin. By any normal standard, that should have been a done deal. But it was. His rear tire completely gave up on him before he even crossed the finish line on that last lap. Martin, being the ruthless competitor that he is, seized the opportunity and snatched the victory right at the last corner. Bagnaia went from being on the verge of a certain win to getting completely robbed in the final moments. After the race, Bagnaia was very straightforward and honest in his comments. He explained that in the closing stages of the race he simply had nothing left to fight with. He even mentioned that during the warm-up laps the bike already felt noticeably heavier than usual. He tried to manage the early part of the race carefully, but when it came to the decisive moments, the rear tire dropped off dramatically. He admitted he came very close to crashing several times in those final 2 laps. And here's the really important part, the core of what Bagnaia said. He explained that with the new GP26, riders are forced to turn the bike using the rear tire, and it's exactly that characteristic that is destroying the tires so quickly in the first place. This wasn't just an angry rider complaining after a disappointing result. This was a world champion giving a clear, technical breakdown of exactly what's going wrong with the motorcycle underneath him. Now this is where things get really fascinating. When Marc Márquez was asked about the exact same problems with the GP26, his answer couldn't have been more different, and it was very typical of the man himself. He came right out and said, "It's me, not the bike." He openly admitted that he still hasn't figured out how to improve his performance in the opening laps. He said he doesn't feel completely at home on the machine yet. He described the feeling as if he's been adapting to a riding position rather than riding the bike naturally. And because of that, he feels like he's just going through the motions instead of actually making a real difference at the front. It's important to note that Márquez still acknowledged he is fast, but being fast is not the same as being a real threat. If you can't build a gap, can't make your overtakes stick, and can't fight properly at the front when it counts, then being quick is simply not enough. So who's closer to the truth? Is Bagnaia right to point at the machine, or is Márquez correct in taking the responsibility himself? Here, what makes this situation so compelling? In reality, they're both right, and yet neither of them has the complete picture on their own. Looking at Bagnaia's argument, there is solid evidence backing him up. The severe tire degradation, the difficulty in keeping the rear stable through right-hand corners, and the fact that the same problems have appeared consistently across 3 completely different circuits, that's not just a feeling, that's a clear pattern. If the fundamental way the GP26 needs to be ridden is inherently hard on the rear tire, then tire wear will continue to be a major issue no matter how talented the rider is. But Márquez's point of view also carries real weight. He is still only in his first full season with the Ducati factory team. The connection between rider and machine hasn't fully developed yet. And if there's one thing we've learned from history about Marc Márquez, it's that once he truly clicks with a motorcycle, the results can be absolutely devastating for everyone else. So when he says the problem is with him, it could genuinely be honest self-assessment rather than any kind of false modesty. The strong performances and consistency shown by Fabio Di Giannantonio on the satellite bike add yet another layer to this story. It could mean there is something very individual, a riding style mismatch, that both Márquez and Bagnaia need to solve personally. Or it could simply mean that Di Giannantonio's natural style happens to suit the current character of the GP26 better right now. The bottom line is that this isn't about one rider being smarter or more talented than the other. It's about two world-class riders with very different approaches, both struggling to get comfortable with a bike whose behavior has clearly changed underneath them. To their credit, Ducati is not standing still. They have already confirmed a new package of upgrades that will be introduced at the next round in Jerez. And the way they plan to use these upgrades is actually quite smart. They intend to run different setups on Márquez's and Bagnaia's bikes at the same time to collect as much comparative data as possible. That's a clever move. Instead of having the whole factory team run identical configurations and hopping for the best, they're turning their two factory riders into a real-time experiment. The results from this should help paint a much clearer picture of whether the root issue is mechanical or more related to rider adaptation. Ducati knows very well that they are currently behind Aprilia, and they understand that the time to fight back is limited. The season is still long, but momentum is everything in MotoGP. If Aprilia continues to grow in confidence while Ducati keeps struggling to find answers, that gap will only become harder and harder to close. 3 rounds in, the situation looks pretty clear. 2026 is not Ducati's season, at least not yet. Aprilia is flying high, and Ducati's 2-star riders have not found their edge so far. But, and this is crucial, MotoGP seasons are never decided in March. We've seen this exact story play out before. Teams can start the year looking completely lost, then quietly solve their problems and go on an unstoppable run later in the season. What will decide everything from this point forward is how quickly and accurately Ducati can identify the real problem and fix it. And that's exactly why the difference in perspective between Márquez and Bagnaia is so important. If the team misjudges the cause, spending valuable time trying to redesign the bike when the solution actually lies in rider adaptation, or the other way around, they will waste precious race weekends chasing the wrong fix entirely. The upcoming round at Jerez is going to be very revealing. If the new upgrades bring an immediate and obvious improvement, that will be a point in Bagnaia's favor. If, on the other hand, Márquez suddenly finds his rhythm and starts fighting for wins without any major technical changes, then the man himself will have been proven right all along. Right now, I want to hear from all of you. Who do you think has understood the situation more accurately? Bagnaia, who says it's a bike problem, or Márquez, who is taking the blame himself? Drop your answer in the comments below. And while you're at it, let me know, are you in the Márquez camp or the Bagnaia camp as we head into the rest of this season? If this video helped you get a better understanding of what's really happening behind the scenes in MotoGP, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because I'll be covering every single twist and turn of the 2026 season all the way to the final round. Before you go, I'll leave you with one big question to think about. If you were in charge at Ducati right now, what would be your first decision? Would you overhaul the bike, or would you give the riders more time and space to adapt? There's no wrong answer here, but whatever you choose says a lot about how well you understand the beautiful, frustrating complexity of this sport. Write your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. See you in the next one. Stay sharp, and thanks for watching right until the end, because the 2026 season is only just starting to get exciting.